Okay.
Justin. Thank you so much for your time. How's it going? How's the weather in Toronto?
It's yesterday was the coldest day of the year. Today is getting better.
Right?
Toronto is like the worst place for weather.
Uh-huh.
The worst.
How so?
It gets really, really cold on Monday and then it gets really, really warm on Tuesday.
Right.
You never know what kind of jacket to put on.
So
I had
that's
to watch a Coca-Cola truck spend half an hour trying to get its tires moving because of all the snow all
yeah.
the ice and all of that. Yeah.
So here's the thing. I've watched your video. The video was called Amber Heard Villain in Victim's Clothing, and I found it very interesting. The approach that you did was really interesting. But actually, there are a few things that I didn't quite understand, and I wanted to ask you about them. And it would be great
Okay.
if you go like deeper on that. If you dig a little deeper for me to understand it better, if that's fine with you.
Yeah.
But first of
That
all,
would be great.
awesome. So first of all, I'm curious about something. At the beginnings of your videos, you always put this saying there that says, "Without good art, life would not be worth living. Without bad art, life would be worth living." And I was curious, what good art and bad art are you thinking about precisely?
Well, that's a very big question. Best to be answered by art critics. And the point isn't so much me saying what good art is and what bad art is. It's more about saying that it needs to be there needs to be a distinction between good art and bad art, and
Yeah.
that distinction needs to be made by art critics who are extremely important when they're doing it responsibly. I'm not talking about stupid movie critics. I'm talking about people who take art criticism seriously,
Right. Right. And
and that's about it.
because I thought when I read that I thought about reggaeton. Do you know that rhythm that is very fancy right now, so to speak, very popular? Have you heard about that rhythm, the reggaeton? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have no idea. No, I ignore all music from the last 100 years because I don't like it. I don't respect it. I only respect Bach and Mozart in classical music. Really, I'm pretty hardcore in that regard.
Right. So what music do you listen to every day? Just Bach and Mozart or something else?
As somebody who studies music theory regularly, I don't listen to any music because if I do, I have to analyze it, and then it drives me crazy.
All
So
right.
I generally don't listen to music anymore.
So going back to the video itself, when you were doing like the introduction to the subject, you were saying something like, "I'm a straight male and that's all I know." Like, I don't understand very much, this whole gender thing. I'm just a male and that's all I know. What did you mean by that?
No, I just mean it's not for me to say what things should be, how life should be for women or for anybody who's not me. And I guess I was implying that nobody should be making comments about what they are not.
Right?
And that's, I mean, basically, all I know is all I know. And I'm not qualified to speak about certain matters. I guess that's what I meant. I'm not sure. I don't really recall what I meant, but
Right.
that sounds like what I meant.
So in relation to that video, I think that what caught my attention especially was that you were reproducing stuff like the imaginary, so to speak. You were talking about what society thinks about both aging women and aging men and how that's different, and you were saying that those are stereotypes and that you don't necessarily agree with them, but it is what it is. And so I guess my opinion on that, and that's why I commented on your video and stuff, was that what I think is that maybe, I mean, I don't know what statistics did you base that on, but even if they're reality and if they're serious, I think that once we reproduce that, we perpetuate it somehow. Like if you reproduce it publicly, even if you say that you don't think like that, but it is what it is, then somehow you're making it become the norm in a way, right? Whereas if you ignore them or try to change that, maybe, things can be different. And I think that, I obviously think that women and men, we are very different. But I also think that implying that it's confirmed that we women age like grapes while men age like wine, and so it's it's a statistic that we women feel attracted to, like taller men and older men and whatever, and intellectual men, but men are not attracted to intellectual women. That's what I don't quite share with you there. I don't think it's like that totally at all. And again, I think that when you imply that it's just a statistic and you can change it, then you can change it. And that's the whole problem, that you can change it. I mean, imagine telling someone like Mandela or Rosa Parks that they can change reality and it is what it is.
I think you're entirely right, and I think I'm just in that instance, I was just venting. But absolutely, I'm perpetuating the stereotype when I do that, and it doesn't help anybody. And it's no better. It's exactly the same as when uh, people fight back against the Me Too movement. And they're really just like exactly perpetuating, or what's the word? Just they're keeping it going.
Right,
The whole
exactly.
stereotype. It's not necessary. Exactly. And you got to ask yourself, I must ask myself, why am I even mentioning that? Unless I've got a certain degree of bitterness or I'm on that side, you know? So you're
Exactly.
right.
Because imagine, like, if you put yourself in my shoes, maybe as a woman, I don't represent all women, obviously, nor do I expect that at all. I just speak for myself. But um, I've been someone that tried to, like, study and try to know about the world and whatnot. And obviously,
Yeah.
when I hear stuff like that, it's like,
You don't need to hear that.
yeah, it's completely unfair, because it's like, okay, so
Yeah, absolutely.
my wrinkles and my gray hair won't be appealing for a guy, whereas it's obviously very comfortable for guys to say that because statistics say so, we can still,
Yeah.
pick up women, young women, because women are attracted to us, whereas for women, if they're intellectual or intelligent but they don't look good enough, it's over for them. I know that you were talking specifically about Hollywood. You were not saying that you think that yourself, but in that regard,
Oh, I do think that myself. I mean, I'm attracted to younger women, but it's just
right?
not something that needs to be said. It's like it's irrelevant. It's just a mean kind of. It's like like saying that a person's fat. You don't need to say it.
Well, but at
You
least
know, like why would you say that?
if you said that that's how you think, that would be something. At least that would be more honest than saying, well, that's not necessarily how I think, but this is how things are. That's a little bit suspicious, because obviously it's like that's the way you think. Otherwise, you wouldn't have recorded, that video if you didn't think like that, right? Because you're reproducing it, and it's obvious that you think that way too. And I'm not,
Sure.
I'm not one time I remember a long time ago, I was having a similar conversation with my brother, and I was saying something along the lines of, oh, because this girl got this prize, whatever, because she has these new fake boobs and I don't, so whatever. And he said, listen, boobs rule the world. Boobs move the world. It is what it is. And so you can
Oh, he's
complain,
right.
right?
He's right.
So yeah, it is what it
He's
is.
right.
Yeah,
I'm joking.
he's right. He's right. But then the question would be, what does a woman like me do, if,
No
if
boobs.
no, because my boobs are fine. My boobs are totally fine. I'm okay with my
How
boobs.
do you know that? But how do you know?
Right. I think that, yeah, I think that we might try to change that at least a little bit. I'm not bitter. It's not that I'm envious of other women who achieve more, maybe because of their looks, but I do think that all men are not like that at all. And so,
Of course not. Yeah, only people like me are like that. But there's good men out there. I mean, I'm not saying I'm a bad man, but I am a victim of the culture and all that crap, right? So I do draw into it like a weak person does. But that is not. I've met a lot of men. I remember I met one guy, and he says, "I got a new girlfriend," and I go, "Is she hot?" And you know what he said? He goes, "It's not about that." And I
right.
thought that was beautiful.
Right. Listen, I don't. When I meet with my girlfriends and one of them is hooking up with a new guy or whatever. Listen, we don't ask them how much money does he have or anything. I mean,
There you go. There you go.
in general, we ask her like, is he a nice guy and that kind of thing. So
That's wonderful.
I guess my
That gives me faith in humanity.
good, but I guess my question would be personally, just out of curiosity, right? When you say that you rather like younger women and stuff like that, What does happen to you when you're in dialogue with a smart woman? I'm not saying that I'm that woman here now, okay? But talking about other women, if you deal with a dumb youngster or whatever, and you have the two choices to go home that night with one of these two women, the youngster who's a little dumb, or maybe the older that has a conversation. So the conversation of a woman doesn't turn you on whatsoever.
No, it turns me off. A smart woman, then I stop feeling sexual towards them.
How so?
Well, because if they're really smart, then we should play a game of chess.
But then if
I
you
mean, like, if they're stupid, then they're probably gonna come on more sexually, like animalistically, I suppose.
but
So it'll be more raw or whatever. Yeah,
I don't think so. But
it's
is
good.
it
Good question. I like all your questions. These are really good.
a matter of maybe a power thing going on? Like if you deal with a dumb girl, maybe.
Probably.
Oh, okay. So there's something there, right?
Of course, yeah.
I mean, you get aroused maybe by having the power over maybe a girl that doesn't know much or something.
Maybe.
And then would you have a serious relationship with her with perspectives or
No.
no? And what about serious relationships? Would you rather start a serious one
Uh,
with a smart woman or with a dumb one?
Smart one.
Well, so there you go. But you're supposed to have sex with her.
Yeah, I know that's going to be a problem.
You can't be talking seriously. I mean, it can't be
Sorry?
true. No, you can't be talking seriously. It can't be true what you're saying. That if the woman's smart, you can't have sex with her. I,
Well, then,
I
why
find
am
it
I
really
single?
strange. I mean, I
Well,
find
why
it.
am I single then?
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. But all right. So when you talk about Hollywood, like you were saying that this girl Amber Heard, like she's almost over because she's maybe 35 or something, and so her
Yeah.
career is not gonna have a great future in Hollywood probably. Now, asking you not about you, but about your vision on Hollywood, why do you think that is? Why do you think like a male old actor can still be working and a woman is dismissed like after 30 or something? Why do you think it is like that? And if you agree with that?
Because superficially, it's true. The thing that really was illuminating for me was that okay, Machiavelli is that basically there's a difference between idealism and realism, and Machiavelli's book, The Prince. Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's basically saying this is the way it always has been. I don't agree with it, but this is the way it has always been. If you want to be a tyrant, if you want to be a leader, you have to be a tyrant. You have to be an awful person. You have to cut people's arms and legs off. And I don't like it any more than you do, but this is the way it's always been. And I guess, and that's realism.
No,
Whereas somebody like Jesus or somebody says this is the way it should be, and they're an idealist.
right.
And Machiavelli is saying idealists tend to get nailed to crosses, and realists tend to do very well. And so I think what I'm really doing is just drawing the differentiation between idealism and realism.
Right.
Like realistically, men have always been into younger girls, and that's just the way it goes. Idealistically, it should never be that way.
Right, but I'm sorry to repeat myself like this, but I guess I should get back to Rosa Parks again. I mean, if
Mm.
right, I mean, if if she had thought that way, that this is how it is, probably I don't know, black people would still be not using the same bathroom in public places than white people, etc. Right? So sometimes,
Yes.
right? So sometimes, so I guess what I'm trying to say here is that I don't judge at all. I don't judge in general nothing, right? But I don't judge your taste on women. Obviously, I'm just curious. It's not that I'm judging it. It's all good if you like that kind of woman. It's okay. But then again, when you do such an emphasis on that, it seems like there's no way out of that, and that's what I find a little disturbing because I think that ultimately big changes are done only if you are willing to do those changes and not accept reality. I'm a big reality acceptor, if that word exists. Absolutely, just like you, I don't think that we should be dreaming of butterflies and birds when reality is not like that. We have to be totally
Well said.
realistic. And I know what I'm getting into if I rather study and and travel and be a sort of quote unquote strong woman. And I know that I sometimes guy can lose interest in me, but then other guys are interested in me. So I'm really confused about again your statistics. I don't know where you took those statistics from. Sorry, but I guess we should be a little bit more careful when we imply that we're talking about statistics that are not there. I mean, you should maybe say where you
Provide
read.
references.
Exactly. Um, so
Okay, let me say one thing.
yeah,
You brought up Rosa Parks, right? And I would say in the case of Rosa Parks, she chose to do something that probably ruined her life. She saved everybody, but she probably went through hell doing so, and that just is exactly what I'm saying about idealists versus realists. Idealists tend to get nailed to crosses. Realists tend to like have a good time. It's like a good person versus a bad person.
yeah,
Rosa Parks did the right thing, but she probably had a terrible life. After that, the sort of shit she went through, and I mean, she's a prophet. She's a wonderful person, like Mother Teresa. But they don't get glamour. They don't get. It's like that song, "Kids in America." Kind hearts don't get any glory. Kind hearts don't make a good story.
well, as a
You
woman,
know, like she didn't get any. She didn't get anything from that. You know who got something from what Rosa Parks did? Kanye West. He gets to pull the race card every day, and he gets to make millions of dollars because of Rosa Parks' suffering. And I would just say that if you're going to do the good thing, don't expect to get any benefits. You're going to have like nothing but trouble in your life. But that's the beauty of a good person. They get nothing.
right? But what if, for instance, someone like myself, if you ask me, maybe name a role model, so to speak, as a woman, uh, and I tell you someone like Patti Smith, am I screwed?
Patti Smith.
Yeah, Patti Smith. Does that
Yeah,
mean?
the one who rock and roll enter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the question?
No, the question is, am I screwed if I choose that kind of example as a woman that's an artist, that maybe she doesn't care much about, I don't know, waxing and her image and her clothing, and she doesn't use high heels and stuff. In other words, I will make the question this way because I understand what you say. It's the difference
I know
between.
the answer.
Yeah, well, tell me the answer.
The answer is you're screwed if you think you're going to make a lot of money, like if you want to make a lot of money.
She
And you're
already
going to
made a lot of
benefit if
money.
you want to have an enriching, if you want, well, but that's not the way it works anymore. That was a rare occurrence and it'll never happen again. It's one in a million. That's like being an artist is a one in a million endeavor. And if you actually think you're going to make money, then you're crazy. So Patti Smith, yeah. If you want to worship Patti Smith or Bach or Mother Teresa or Jesus or anybody who was good, and you want to emulate them, then you're not going to make money. You're just going to have a very happy life. You're going to be a decent person. But the two are kind of mutually what's the word? Mutually exclusive.
Right.
Mutually, yeah, something like that. Yeah, that's all. You just make a choice. I've made choices like that, and I'm never gonna be at the Playboy Mansion, and I'm okay with that.
Right. And for instance, if you had a daughter, and your daughter,
Right.
you had this conversation with your daughter one Sunday afternoon, whatever, and she's approaching her 18s or something, and so you need to talk to her about her future with with men, and she tells you
Yeah.
something like, yeah, I don't want to be like an object for the man. I want to be not equal because we're totally different, but intellectually wise, I mean, I don't want to be a dumb girl, and I don't want to play dumb neither to get a man. If that's a man that I like, I rather like another man, right? Because that talks, I think that speaks volumes of a man, more about the man than about the woman. If the man is into
Absolutely.
dumb women, right? So Because I think that ultimately men are not that stupid. That's what I mean here. I mean, if men were super.
Oh, you'd be surprised. I haven't met a smart one in a long time.
Right, but what would you advise your daughter? Because here it would go personal, but not about what you think, but what do you think would be the best advice for your girl if she were to start dating a guy? What advice would you give her?
Well, at 4 years old, I would already have told her that women age like grapes and men age like wine. I'm just joking. The advice I would give, the advice I would give to my 16-year-old daughter is, that's such a good question. I guess it would be just look at their morals, right? Isn't that what you're supposed to say? Look at their morals. Don't be waylaid. Don't be mystified by the act they put on. Um, they are not who they seem. They pretend. A lot of people pretend. Most people just pretend.
Right.
And so just try to pay attention to what if they do what they say. Actually, I mean, this is just like such a deep question. It doesn't. It transcends just that. Like, what do you say to your daughter? What do you say to anybody? Or what do you say when you meet somebody? Or how do you know when you're meeting a decent person? Well, you got to pay attention to whether they do what they say. When they say they're going to do something, do they follow through? Are they a liar? Do they do what they? That's all.
So, in other words, if she came back to you and introduced you to a guy who is with her because of her looks and treats her like an object or something, but she's happy with it, are you okay with it?
Well, how do I know he's only into her because of her looks or because she treats him like it?
Because
If he's there and he goes, "Shut up, bitch," if he says that in front of me, then I know he treats her like an object.
No, not shut
And
up,
she
bitch.
tells me,
Not shut up, bitch,
what?
but that he's into her just because of her looks and she can't express herself so much and stuff. Would you intervene or would it be okay with you?
Well, a father can't intervene. I mean, all that's going to do is force the girl further towards the guy, because then he's a rebel on a motorcycle. I think just you got to ask me more specifically the question because I mean, because that's taking a lot for granted that, like, I know that he's that way. Because you usually don't know that if they're that way or not. Because your daughter's telling you, he's a great guy. So you're going to think, okay, well, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. So the question would probably be better. The better question might be, when do you know that he's not a good guy?
Right, right. I understand.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Yeah, it's actually deeper and deeper, but we're gonna follow this up on the next episode because it's a little tricky. But now I have a question that pops up in my mind about it's a little personal, and I'm just
Sure, I don't care.
yeah, I'm curious about this. And if you can be as honest as possible, I would appreciate it very much. But it's just sociological. It's not personal like that.
How many times have I masturbated?
No, I don't think you can count them anyway. But
That's personal.
here's my question. Because I have two YouTube channels, and I'm not really. No, fuck.
I'm still listening. I'm listening.
Yeah, sorry. Someone's knocking on my door. Just a second. No puedo,
Okay.
perdón.
It's probably a beautiful 19-year-old
It
girl.
was my neighbor. Like when I heard your YouTube channel, I thought it was pretty original, and I'm curious about what happened through your mind when you first started that YouTube channel. What were you thinking? What was the main wheel that made you feel like you had to record your points of view and take them out there? Is it just money, or did you think that you wanted to, I don't know, influence people in their thoughts somehow?
My main idea was that Star Wars Episode 8 came out and it enraged me. And I saw that it was the first opportunity I had to relate to the average idiot. Because it's hard to relate to average idiots. But one thing we have in common is that we hate the Star Wars The Last Jedi. So I was like, this is my opportunity to connect with idiots. And thus I could get some views because usually art is for the mass. The masses are very difficult to relate to. So And I thought, well, and if I do this, I could parlay that into getting uh, fans that can Patreon supporters who can support my books, which are like going to be great art, and then that could be like I could make that into an art career, at least finance my art career. That's what got me into YouTube.
What are your books about, by the way?
My first book is called Men Are All Murderers and Women Are All Whores. I wrote that in 2006, and I wish I wrote it now because it couldn't be more funny. My second book is called, and it's about a world where gender stereotypes are true. 2006 is when I wrote it. So, like, every man is a murderer and every woman is a whore, and how ridiculous would it be if life was like that? My second book is called Why Can't I Be Normal? It's about a guy who wants to be normal so badly that he becomes increasingly weird. And that's probably the one that would get big because it's like every teenager. It's a story that every teenager would want to read. So those are the two books that I published. I've written other things since then, like a play and a movie. My play and my movie are both on my channel.
Oh,
but yeah, I'm writing more stuff.
so
But
this is fiction, right?
I'm still trying to. Yeah, it's all fiction. I'm still trying to find the right, not genre, the right format for it because people don't read books anymore. So I'm not sure if that's the right way to go. But people don't do anything anymore. Like you make a movie, you're a very small fish in the ocean. So I think I'm just gonna keep publishing books, and then it's just more of a novelty to sell them one-on-one in person to people because the internet is just way too big. So it's just better to sell your books in person, like a physical book. You meet somebody, you say, "Hey, I wrote this book." They're delighted because it's new. I think the technology has just destroyed everything, and records are coming back, like record players, records.
Right.
People are going to start watching bands in play. People are sick of having every MP3 at their fingertips every moment.
At some point
People are sick of having every movie all the time available to them.
Right.
People want to go back to reading. That's just what I'm hoping. That's what I'm betting on.
Well,
and people are sick of like downloading. You can download the Mona Lisa and look at it. Whereas I know people who actually paint paintings, and you can actually buy the painting and have it on your wall.
Right.
And I think that's going to come back. I think that's going to make a good big comeback.
Already a big comeback to analogic. Yeah, you bet. Totally.
I hope so.
It's totally
There's
happened.
nowhere else to go.
So those books sound really interesting. I felt especially compelled towards the second one, the one of the guy that wanted to be normal and then he became super weird. So I'm looking forward to maybe grab them somehow. I don't know. We'll talk about that later. How can I read a few of them? Anyway, so Justin, it was great talking to you. I have to be totally honest here. My computer is telling me that it doesn't have more room, like more storage. So that's what happens when you're kind of poor. So it's been great. I think we should repeat sometime, more relaxed, because this one was a little, we don't know each other that much, apart from that night we spent together, but we can talk about that publicly. So it was great, by the way, for you. So I look forward to talk to you very soon, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
See you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.